How many of you can remember your first big goal as a little kid? Okay. Mine was to climb the difficult rock climbing wall at the YMCA with the green, yellow, and blue footholders. I'd wait for my turn on the ashen rocks with the gray chalk all over my hands, and I would fail over and over and over again. But one day, I triumphed. I touched the top, and it felt like I had reached Mount Everest. Climbing that wall was my biggest breakthrough and proudest moment as a 7-year-old. However, when I got down to the bottom, the questions from kids around me were, can you write with your left hand? Or does it look the same on your foot? And does it hurt? This was not the response I was expecting. But that day, I learned that people have many questions about my hand. Hi, my name is Marin Sougias, and I'm here to share with you my limb difference and the 1 in 32,000 people who are born this way. The limb difference scale can vary from having an extra finger to missing every limb. Each one of these people have their own struggles and difficulties. For example, here is a study done by the Journal of Bone and Joint Surgery, which measures how many daily tasks one can do with their limb difference. Here are a few examples of the jobs asked to perform by the participants. However, taking care of daily tasks isn't what makes up the majority of challenges faced by people with limb differences. The real challenge is people. How many of you have ever been made fun of before? Probably all of us, right? Most of the insensitive things said to me are mainly directed about my hand. I've had people say they look like potato eyes. One kid told me my kids would be deformed, and there are some things I can't even say up here. Nonetheless, I have learned that no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt. But 80% of the people I encounter just stare and look like they have a question in mind. But I promise you, people with limb differences want you to ask your questions. Asking questions helps to raise awareness about physical diversities, and those moments contribute to connecting with each other. My next points are the benefits that come from my limb difference experience. Of course, I have all the jokes I get to make and the nicknames I can remember from middle school, like Nemo or the Claw. But there's also the determination I discovered in myself. When I was younger, I used to rock climb. And in my first couple years of climbing, I could never figure out how to use my left hand effectively. But one day, I discovered I could use my wrist to my advantage, and my rock climbing possibilities opened up. I was the best at monkey bars, and no one could compare. However, I worked so hard at learning to use the monkey bars that my wrist had become incredibly calloused, and my joints were terribly swollen. But this was one of the first things I had ever done that helped me to understand my own tenacity, power, and grit. My limb difference makes me more competitive and driven because I do not like failing at something when failing can be blamed on my limb difference. Finally, I would never be as confident with myself if I didn't have a community. When I was younger, I used to think I was the only kid in the world who had a hand like mine. But one day, I discovered Camp No Limits, which is a group for people with all kinds of limb differences. It was located in Idaho on the beautiful Lake Coeur d'Alene. And there, I bonded with the campers and counselors around me, and they made it clear that I was not alone. I bring this subject to your attention today because limb differences aren't discussed as much, even with so many amazing and talented people like Bethany Hamilton and Tony Memel, plus the countless amounts of limb difference organizations that we can support, like Beautifully Flawed or the LSK Foundation. Limb differences don't limit people. They open creative paths and perseverance. Limb differences don't set the mark for what one can achieve. They serve as a determination to defy expectations. Limb differences don't lessen a person's dignity. They shed light on unique characteristics. Limb differences don't kill dreams. They create uncharted roads to reach them. Limb differences don't divide us. They unite us on a shared journey of persistence, dedication, and commitment. We all take part in each other's lives, so let's find the unity in our differences. The hand I was born with doesn't make me who I am. It was a hand that others were offering to lend. Thank you.